basically, he got me to write a book, and it absolutely changed my life as far as a banker. Everything he promised me happened. Now, I didn't raise my fees, just nobody negotiated with me anymore. But sure enough, clients that would come out of the woodworks that would never give me the time of day begging to get on my calendar. And I swallowed my pride and took their money because, I'm a businessman. And then sure enough, media was calling me on a regular basis. And
Mm.
it was laughable.
Welcome to Extraordinary Stories. I'm your host, Forbes Shannon, with me.
Christine Butler.
And today, Christine and I have really been looking forward to this guest.
Yeah.
He is a pivotal part in our relationships,
Truly.
especially, as our past as ghostwriters.
Mhm.
He is an innovator when it comes to book publishing with his company, Morgan James, and he's got the best publisher name.
The best.
The best publisher name, David Hancock. Thanks for being here, David.
Welcome, David.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, Morgan and James are my kids. It actually means something to me, but sounds like a real company.
Totally. It's funny. We were actually talking about that, about how Morgan James sounds
So good.
Yes,
It is.
astute, stately.
Very much.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I want to get into the nomination thing, but I got to know, how old are Morgan and James?
So, of course, they were tiny, almost 25 years ago when we launched the house. But Morgan, my daughter, is 24, going on 25, obviously going on 25, but really soon. And James is 27, and he's already out of the house and working in his field as an electrical and computer science engineer. And Morgan's an X-ray tech, but she's still here until she gets married. So I'm holding on to her with all my might for as long as I can.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, 27, 24, 20 years in the business with the
Yeah.
publishing
Well,
business.
it sounds like you were called for it. I mean, given your name,
Mhm.
how'd you get started in this industry?
Oh my gosh, that's a really fun story. So I was a banker back in the 90s. Fat, dumb, and happy. Never imagined doing anything else. I mean, they were paying me stupid money for a college dropout. I found a niche. I've always been a big fan of home ownership. I bought my first house when I was 19, I believe. And so I was a mortgage banker, and I was doing really, really well. And then one day, short version, one day my bosses came to me and said, "Hey, you're doing great." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks. I know, right?" And they said, "Well, why don't we hire a bunch of people like you and we can do even better?" I'm like, I don't even know when I'm successful. So for the first time in my life, I really started to invest in me and try to learn something. I started studying under Tom Hopkins and Zig Ziglar and Bill Baccarat and Todd Duncan, whether it's industry specific stuff or not. I just started to figure out, hey, I need to go find out what all this business acumen is, and if any of it's me, and if can I teach somebody to be me. And it was fun. It was a good journey. And I learned a lot. I went to their seminars, I bought their books, I read their books, I bought their courses, I implemented their stuff, and all of it had impact. I fine-tuned the processes, I hired a couple of assistants, I was able to teach people some basics, but nothing was really giving me that oomph. This is really what it was that was me, that was making me successful, that I could duplicate. But it wasn't until I came to work one day and my whole office knew what I was doing, was trying to, figure out who I am and whatnot. But I came to work and there was a copy of a book left on my desk. And to this day, no one's confessed to giving it to me, but it was a copy of Guerrilla Marketing by J. Conrad Levinson. This is it.
Mhm.
And I read it and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm a gorilla and didn't know it. I was leveraging my time, my energy, my imagination. I was building relationships. I was helping others realize their goals and so forth. And it was called Guerrilla Marketing. It's like, oh my gosh, this is it. And then sure enough, I immersed myself in guerrilla marketing. And in one of the books, I think it was Guerrilla Marketing for the 90s. I have that one here too. He said, hey, if you have questions, email me. I'm like, I'm going to email him. He's not going to respond. But I emailed him and he responded. And we ended up becoming pen pals. And I ended up hiring him as a coach, as a mentor, I guess is the way he called it. And he didn't necessarily teach me anything more than I had already figured out, but his accountability, his stories, and affirmation that I was on the path that was meant for me, that really made all the difference. And ended up just exploding, my business and the team that I was creating. But there was one. And again, this is a short version. There was one, we call them guerrilla marketing weapons. There was one weapon that I had always avoided, maybe not intentionally, but he was trying to get me leaned into. And he dragged it out over 3 months because I'm paying him, monthly to be my mentor. But basically he said, David, if you want to charge more and negotiate less for what you're doing, like who doesn't? You want to charge more and negotiate less. He says, if you want to charge more and negotiate less, you got to keep doing what you're doing because you're having impact. You're making a name for yourself. You're adding value. You're creating relationships, but you need to add one more thing. I'm like, what is this secret one more thing?
Mm.
I guess I wasn't ready for it, or he wanted, again, like I said, drag it out, which is, smart businessman. And the next month, he basically said something similar. He said, David, if you, what did he say? He said, if you wanted to have clients that would come out of the woodwork just because of who you are, people that would never give you the time of day today, if you wanted them to start begging to get on your calendar, you've got to keep doing what you're doing because you're having a lasting impact. You're creating a name, yada, yada, all the same thing, stuff he said before. He said, but you need to add one more thing. And I'm like, what is this one more thing, Jay? I'm like, I'm ready for it. Didn't tell me right away. And then like in the next month, he went on in our regular coaching and he said, do you know, David, if you wanted to have the media start calling you when something happened in the space, there was always something going on in mortgage banking in the 90s. I mean, today the interest rates were, whatever, and tomorrow they're 10 points less, and the next day they're 15 points higher. It was ridiculous. But I'm like, yeah, I don't necessarily see me being as that talking head, on there, but I can understand what you're saying. He says, well, you got to keep doing what you're doing because you're creating an impact, you're making a name for yourself, and you're adding value, but you need to add one more thing. And at this point, I am really ready to strangle him. But he finally said, David, you need to write a book. You need to become an authority in your space. And I literally laughed and cried at the same time because I'm like, who am I to write a book, And I'm like, Jay, you know my story. I barely passed high school. I barely passed English. I was too busy chasing soccer balls and my now wife of almost 37 years. And I dropped out of college. Who am I to write a book? But he was very loving, very gracious. And he helped me realize that I was being different. I was unique and I was an authority and I could write a book. And he walked me through it. Again, I'll speed up. So basically, he got me to write a book, and it absolutely changed my life as far as a banker. Everything he promised me happened. Now, I didn't raise my fees, just nobody negotiated with me anymore. But sure enough, clients that would come out of the woodworks that would never give me the time of day begging to get on my calendar. And I swallowed my pride and took their money because, I'm a businessman. And then sure enough, media was calling me on a regular basis, And it was laughable. But by my third book, so short period of time, it's still in the 90s. By my third book, I was so frustrated with traditional publishing. I got picked up by a traditional house. I sold them the rights to my work, and they did everything that they could to please themselves and left me out of everything. I didn't even like the covers. They added chapters to my book, and then they yelled at me for not selling enough, and I had no parameters, and I thought I was doing good, but my day job was killing it. But when it came time for my second book, I was like, I don't want to do it with you. I don't like you. But Jay said, and he reminded me, or the publisher reminded me not so nicely, that they gave me a 3-book deal, which sounds very exciting, right? But when the relationship was lacking and just no relationship, and fought for everything, and I couldn't even give my books away, and we gorillas like to give stuff away. I had to get permission and approve my PowerPoint every time I wanted to go speak on the topic. It was crazy. So when they came to me for a second book, I'm like, no, I don't want to. But they said, you have to. And so I went back to Jay and I'm like whining and crying like a 5-year-old. I say, Jay, I don't like them. I don't want to do another book. And again, in his typical spirit, he was very gracious. And he said, we'll get through it together. We'll make it work and, we're going to have fun. And I kind of stomped my feet and I mean, over exaggerating a little bit, but you get the picture. I kind of stomped my feet and said, well, not unless you do it with me, because I was like, I am not doing it with, and he said, yes. So my second and third book were co-authored in the Guerrilla Marketing series. And even with Jay, who had sold 15 million books by that point, I think I had sold 10,000 or more at my point. Again, no real frame of reference, first-time author. But even with Jay, we still struggle with a lot. The lack of relationship was still there. Jay owned the brand, so the title was pretty locked in. We fought for the camouflage motif that he was so famous for at that point. But just same deal, getting permission to do your PowerPoint. It was just really frustrating. So then I went, after I was done with them, I went and self-published just right after 2000. I started a self-publish. I self-published 3 books. Like, I'm an expert now in publishing. I can sell my own books. I don't need a publisher. And as you can imagine with humans, every decision we make has pros and cons. I kind of underestimated how many books I thought I could sell. I filled up my garage with the books. And then I had a hard time getting them in bookstores because I didn't realize that self-publishing, even today, is really challenging, if not impossible, to get your book into a bookstore. And I was used to selling in bookstore. Now, Amazon was in its infancy, but it was still, there. So that was good. But then the media wouldn't interview me on my self-published books. I would be interviewed on a regular basis for my traditionally published books. And when I leaned in, it was like, well, we love you, but our producers require that we vet each one of our guests in the topic that they're talking about. And we don't have time, so we let publishers do our vetting. So we only put on authors who have written books. I'm like, well, that's cool, but sucks for me now. So I
Right.
realized, again, there's, traditional publishing had credibility, distribution, and opportunity, but lack of relationship, losing the rights and having decisions made for you, and sometimes that don't benefit you. And then self-publishing, complete control, but lack of credibility, lack of distribution, lack
Right.
of opportunity. It's like, man, both these worlds have flaws, especially for we entrepreneurs, because we entrepreneurs don't like to give up control. We don't like decisions being made from us, and we like to create other things with our content, not just lose it. So I go back to Jay, who at this point, we're just best friends. We're co-authors. He stopped charging me, which is cool. And I go back to Jay and I'm like, man, somebody's got to fix publishing, and he knew the path that I had gone through with him. And I'm like, somebody needs to fix publishing, for we entrepreneurs. And he was a very smart guy. He said, why don't you put an outline together for what you think a great relationship could look like between an author that's entrepreneurially minded like you and a publisher? And he says, I'm friends with Houghton Mifflin, who's published the original, Guerrilla Marketing. He says, I bet Houghton Mifflin, I bet I could, go back to Houghton Mifflin and say, maybe they could create an imprint to support we entrepreneurs. And I'm like, oh, that'd be great. Now we'd have a place to publish. So I poured my heart and soul into this outline, this idea for the relationship. Like the author should retain control of their intellectual property. The publisher and author should make decisions together, and not only decisions that benefit the publisher, maybe work on decisions that benefit the author. And then help the author understand how to sell books, because we know how to do our widgets, but we don't necessarily know how to sell books. Jay knew how to sell books, so he was able to help me learn how to sell books. But that lack of relationship was crazy. But I ended up layering it with lots of guerrilla marketing principles and a lot of Zig Ziglar serving others and helping others, a lot of values-based selling into it. And I'm like, I pour my heart and soul in it. And I give it to Jay. I'm like, take this to Houghton Mifflin. Now we'll have a place to publish. And he loved it, of course. But he did not take it to Houghton Mifflin. He said, now go do it. Like, yes, sir. So obviously brought my bride into that conversation, because I was probably working 23 hours a day, 2 hours in banking and 20 hours a day, 21 hours a day, just playing in this publishing space because I loved it so much. And I was helping my clients and friends. And if you got stuck with in an elevator with me, you learned about the power of a book, And so we decided to launch Morgan James. And Jay and my bride thought it would help build a little bit better balance in my life. Maybe we can be a little more intentional kind of thing. And that was a process.
Yeah.
But we launched Morgan James with just a good idea and my rugged good looks, which you can see is kind of questionable. But I think we had just enough God's favor, and I had made enough friends on the speaking circuit, and Jay gave us a 3-book deal that we just launched it and just paid attention to the entrepreneur and did just enough to be credible as a publisher, but not have anybody make decisions for us. And I just kind of launched it, and it worked. And a lot of cool stories between 25 years ago and now, but we just had, like I said, the right idea at the right time and just launched it. I didn't quit my day job for 2 more years, so a little faith, but they were paying me stupid money, kind of thing. But that was a very long answer to a very simple question. But thank you for
No,
asking.
I love it. And
We love the details as writers.
for sure.
Right?
That's the innovation. And as writers, we should explain the relationship. So, David, you were nominated by myself, but Christine Butler and Aaron Bear. So how do you know Aaron and how do you know Christine?
It's funny, when we opened up this world called publishing and Morgan James and me stepping out, of sometimes those comfort zones, I end up meeting some amazing people. So all 3 of you guys I've met through our relationships through publishing, other authors and books. And what better way? In fact, it's so funny. I would say 100% of my friends right now, 99.999% of my friends, best friends, are fellow Morgan James authors. So this world of books and the world of publishing is how we all connected. And man, I'm honored to be playing in the sandbox with you guys.
Oh, well,
we're honored.
100%. And the relationship you just described, I think totally encapsulates, especially your experience.
Yeah.
Of how bonded you become with someone when you're trusted with their legacy book.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you know Kim really well, and her and I are thick as thieves now because of our writing process, and you were a major part in that. So just thank you for that. It's, publishing is a very intricate game. There are so many moving parts to it that people don't really, know until they are involved.
Yeah. If I had known how complicated publishing was, I probably would have never done it on purpose. But, we entrepreneurs call that entrepreneurial bliss, right?
Yeah.
Well, and, I think what was so cool that you highlighted about, your frustration with the traditional publisher was my day job was killing it, but my publisher was saying that it wasn't. And you kind of found this new niche about why books matter for entrepreneurs, it's different than traditional. Like,
Yeah.
can you explain like why someone should even write a book?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
really great question.
So there's lots of reasons to write a book, and there's even reasons maybe why somebody shouldn't write a book. But for us entrepreneurs, obviously you need to have something good to say, some legacy that you want to teach, and some wisdom that you want to embark with. And so long as the books are solutions driven thinking, not just fluff pieces that serve only the author, you should definitely write a book. But the powerhouse is nothing on this planet gives you more authority than writing a book. It's like deep ingrained into our souls for 500 years. So
It's
that
a
whole
saying of expertise. I literally
Mhm.
wrote the book on it,
that
right?
Yeah.
there's this whole
Yeah.
perception of being selected. Publishers don't publish every book that ever comes their way. So having that part of selection, even when you look at some of the current stats, and we may or may not have time to go into it today, but all these mergers and acquisitions from the big houses, you come to find out they publish, over 50,000 books a year, but only 2% of them actually make it into a bookstore. So when you're an author and you're out
Right.
there and you've got it and the books is in hand and you're doing something with it, there's just this subconscious of that authority. This is the right person saying the right
Mhm.
thing at the right time. And then being able to lean into it, just like me. I literally doubled my income, and they were already paying me stupid money. And the only thing I did different was I became an authority in the space by authoring a book.
Yeah.
And it was laughable, really, really laughable. But it worked. It worked. So I encourage any entrepreneur, if you really want to lean into the space to prove your worth, to have the world really take you seriously, is to author in a book. But you've got to serve. You've got to treat the reader well. You want to build a relationship with the reader. You want to serve them, because the more you serve others, the more you're going to serve yourself. But nothing gives you more of a door opener and authority than writing a book.
Mhm.
My
And
story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. No, I totally get it.
We're keeping it.
So let's get into the personal side a little bit on the authority thing. You help people establish authority with books. You have your own books. You have authority. Does that authority blend over into father and dad life?
Mm.
Well, that's a really good question. So, yeah, I really do think so, because I was a young father. Well, maybe not too young. Ethan James. His first name's Ethan. Not everybody knows that. Middle name James. But when he was born, I was already about 30 years old. But and we launched Morgan James just a couple of years after that. I do think I grew into more. I'm trying to say the right words. I grew into being a better father, a better husband, when I started writing the books, because then the world became a little more serious. I mean, I've always been a jokester. I've always been, having fun, but I realized that I couldn't work 24 hours a day like I had been doing. I needed to give time to the family. Writing a book and creating these boundaries around the publishing house really saved our marriage and saved my relationship with the kids, because I literally was a true entrepreneur. We've all been there, working 24 hours a day, but building in that balance with life, and being more intentional about it really helped me lean into, and the more entrepreneurs I met who were doing the same mistakes that I was doing by working 24 hours a day and sacrificing everything, I ended up getting more done between 10 and 5 than I ever did and working 23 hours a day. But it, like I said, it improved my relationship with my bride, and really gave me time and intentionality with the kids, which today, oh my gosh, there's nothing I would do, to change that, because that has been very, very, very powerful. So a
Mhm.
blubbering way to answer the question is, oh my gosh, yes. Just leaning into the book, realizing who I am, stepping out into the public eye, trying to be a good example, has absolutely, honed those edges, for me, and continue to do so.
On those edges.
Yeah.
I have to ask, when you get writer's block, how do you cure it?
Ooh.
Ooh. Uh, I do have to step away. So it does happen. It happens to all of us. And
Mhm.
I've kind of built some tools to kind of help me so that I get writer's block less, like starting with a really good outline, even though obviously I can publish anything I want through Morgan James, but I even write a little proposal every time I want to write a book. And my 26th
Brilliant.
book is out now. But I start with an outline, a really good outline, a really good proposal to make sure I stay on track. And I write to the pieces. I don't try to write a book. I write to the little items, just like you guys do as Ghost. But that was game changing when I really started to realize that. But still, inevitably, distractions, the brain stops when you're staring at a screen. So what I typically do is I do carve out, some intentional days. So, like for instance, I do a lot of speaking. I travel all over the country, and I'll go to an event a day early and I'll stay a day late, and then I just lock myself in a hotel room and I write to that outline 12 hours. And that may sound like craziness to somebody, but if I try to do it at the house, I can get some writing done at the house. But if I try to do it at the house, Morgan needs me, and I am not going to say no to Morgan. Or my bride needs me, and I'm not going to say no to my bride. Or my dogs need me; they just distract me. I love them. But in an event, and I carve out a day, d- bookends, if you will, of an event, I get a lot of writing done. And that
Mhm.
helps. So writing to the outline, staying focused, and then carving out some time, going to the beach house, going to an event, or getting away from the normal distractions without sacrificing the relationship. So obviously you want to include everybody in the decision and preferably time it where it doesn't affect the family as best as possible. But being very intentional has helped me kind of overcome the writer's block. And nothing helps me better than even a good strong Mountain Dew to help me through those rough patches.
I love it. A red thread that you keep talking about is balance. So, how important has balance been for you personally in your entrepreneurship journey, but also in the writer's journey? Because correct me if you don't feel the same way, but when I'm writing, it's like an itch, and then it feels like I need to binge it,
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
hard to put it down. Yeah,
Yeah.
because then you're afraid you're not gonna get back to that mental place,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, what role does balance have in your personal life?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I had gotten to a point where I didn't have a whole lot of balance. And I was certainly
Mm.
okay before we had kids, but it was affecting the relationship with my bride. Now, we met in high school. We married when we were 20, and we're still together all these many years ago. Um, but I had to be intentional, about it. And it wasn't until I said, okay, I am going to be working from 10 to 5, Monday through Friday. Weekends are for family, weeknights are for family. When I put that into place, everything else seemed to start falling together easier. Even my writing stages, I would write back in the day 15 minutes at a time, ish, on the couch with my bride. So I didn't go hide in a room. I had to be intentional about creating, the balance of us having some time together. Though it wasn't focused time, it was still time together, but not getting too
Mhm.
crazy. And those ideas pop up in the strangest points. So I always had, well, before the iPhones and whatnot, I always had a method of kind of keeping those ideas handy or scribbling on my outline so I didn't forget anything. And then when you do it strictly, when you need to take a moment to go, oh my gosh, I've got to write this down, then you say, hey, babe, do you mind if I go write this idea down? And it's not going to really bother anybody because you've been spending so much focus with
Mhm.
the intentionality. But it's funny, the business grew, and it wasn't an overnight thing. I worked into it, but the business grew when I started working less. Imagine that. The stress went down when I started working less. Well, imagine that.
Mhm.
But that intentionality is really, and again, start little. Work an hour less, or focus a little bit more, or spend an extra, you know, evening or weekend than you currently are with the family as you can, and it will be a very positive impact and will help you focus better. There's,
David, go ahead.
I was going to say, not to plug me or books, but one of the books that helped me was Jay and I wrote a book together called The Entrepreneurial Author. And dag nabbit, if he didn't make me, and he and I spent a lot of time on the balance, on building entrepreneurs. And of course, the more you study, the more you interview experts and the more you talk among yourselves and writing, you become an expert at it. So I can't be a hypocrite by writing that book and teaching others to build balance if I didn't have it in myself. So
Right.
that book came out in 2010, and I think I finally nailed the balance by 2009.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, no, no. I love that. And honestly, it's a segue. So when you're in your mind, because as writers, I feel like we're in our heads a lot, right? Like we're
100%.
constantly thinking about what we're gonna think on paper. So like, how do you pull yourself out of your head?
Mm.
Because I find myself just in my head so often because of the writing
Mhm.
process.
Well, I lean into SpongeBob. At least I'm safe in my head. So I may not fully understand the question, but yes, my brain is always spinning ideas.
Yeah.
That's the challenge of being an entrepreneur. But you just have to focus. But you have to do something because if you do nothing, nothing happens.
Right.
But so
Mhm.
again, I may not have fully understood the question, but that's my rambling so far. So ask it
No, I get it. I mean,
again.
I think what maybe my experience has been as a writer is how do you turn it off at night?
Yeah.
Like, have you found a way to do that, or do you not want to do that because the good ideas come out then? How do you, when you have that time with your family, how do you get out of the writer and into being the husband and the dad?
It's about focus. So you really
Mm,
have to be intentional about it. So granted, our brains are, we entrepreneurs, our brains are running 24/7. But it's about being very intentional. It's about putting the things aside and focusing on that relationship, focusing on the conversation, or if you're just on the couch watching TV or something like that, just focusing on, being together or focusing on the kids. You just have to maintain the focus. The focusing could be one of the best gifts you can ever give. In my book, Performance Driven Giving, we talk about giving is not necessarily monetary. It's his time, attention, and talent, and expertise. And so you just have to focus on that nature of your life of serving others by giving them the attention they need. And it becomes easier. So now typically when I get off of work at 5 o'clock, I have things I'm super excited about, but I'm super, super, super excited to go be with the family.
yeah.
It is. It's
Yeah.
it's a it's a it's a it's something you learn to do. It's not an overnight switch that you flip, but you have to be intentional about
Yeah. Well, I heard book writing described in this way. There's type one fun, which is like
it.
going to the movies, having a good meal, hanging out with friends. And then there's type two fun, which is like climbing a mountain, running a marathon, or writing a book. Um, how do you, I'm sure you see this a lot in authors, but like on the journey of type two fun, where it's painful and it sucks, but then at the end, you're like, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
How do you navigate those highs and lows on the journey, or how do you help coach authors to do that?
So the best time to start marketing your book is the moment you decide to write it. And you do that by
Mm,
stepping out and bringing people along with you. So you've got some accountability, but it's also
Hmm.
sharing the joy, and you're writing it for a purpose. You're writing it for an avatar. You're writing it for somebody that you definitely feel like you can help, and that joy kind of brings along with you. So that exhaustion of the writing process, this the self doubt, the imposter syndrome. It's real. It's real for all of us.
totally.
But the more that you've got people following you along the journey, the easier it is, and the more rewarding it can be. Not that every entrepreneur needs somebody to hold their hand and help them finish, but there's many of us that will never finish the book unless they have that.
Yeah.
And then spreading the joy, and then keeping that whole message in mind that you're in doing this to serve others. Now, granted, it can serve us ourselves as authors, but really we're in service of others, and you focus on that, it makes it a whole lot less challenging. But when you do get your manuscript back from your editor and half the pages have read all over it, and she's cut out 40,000 words, it's like, wait a minute, those were important words. It's part of the process, and you just got to trust the
Yeah.
process and lean into the relationship.
Mm.
Yeah. Now,
Mhm.
do you find with some of the people you work with that they're a little stubborn on changing those edits?
Ooh,
It's such a vulnerable thing when it's your
ooh,
writing.
I love that question.
Yes and no. So obviously, the longer we do what we're doing, the more credibility then in the space that we garner, the relationships, of the accolades, the successes of our authors, people tend to trust us more. um, but I think the true entrepreneur understands that we get where we are with a lot of help from a lot of friends. The
Yeah.
the idea of a solo entrepreneur being all by yourself and doing everything on your own is really a myth. That doesn't exist. It could be your
Mhm.
ideas, your business, your baby, but we get where we are by including others. So I think if you think of that mindset, it's a lot easier, to go through those ups and downs and have those relationships. So it's a process, but also they understand that we as a publisher or even editors or ghosts, we really want to help them realize their goals because that's our mission,
Mhm.
and we can help them do it better if they don't do this or something like that. Or you got to be delicate, but one of the challenging things in publishing is you get to tell people that their baby is ugly, but you have to do it in love and tell them how to dress up the baby so it's not so ugly. But it is a process, but it does require
That's
earned
amazing.
trust.
Uh, well, pulling on this thread, the you get it back and there's three chapters that someone removed. What is that clinging and letting go metaphor matter in like real life?
Yeah.
Like how does that relate?
Um, yes. Because we are attached to our content, just like the editor who carved 40,000 words out of my was strangely and humbling my first Wall Street Journal bestseller. It was like, hey, you got half of it. Now it's a good book. Okay.
Right.
So it's part of that, part of that trust. But then with an author that might be bucking in their, and they've repeated themselves so many different times in the book, or it just needs to be trimmed up a little bit, or a 400-page book just isn't where the market needs to be today, is thinking about, well, what is my mentor? After Jay Levinson died, I found a new mentor, a guy named Dan Miller. So Dan Miller taught me, what do these challenges and opportunities create for us? What does this obstacle make possible, in other words? So we try to help understand, hey, this is a great opportunity. If we carve out these 2 chapters that don't need to be in the book, if we carve out these 2 chapters and let's create some sort of ethical bribe, we call it in guerrilla marketing, where we can drive them out of the book, because that's where the real value is. If you can get the reader to leave the book and go engage with you, doesn't matter how many books you sell, that's where the relationship begins, really, and that's where the real value is. So let's think, how can we get the reader to leave the book and go engage with you? And these 2 chapters could be the best assessment or whatever that they could be compelled to go get. And then their entrepreneurial light bulb comes on. It's like, oh yeah. So now it's not hard to help them kind of massage some of that content or understand there's still ways to purpose the content. We just need to present it in a different or better package. Or sometimes let's just do 2 books.
Yeah.
Right.
So hopefully that answers the question.
It totally does. Do you have a hard time letting go of written stuff, or is it different from how you let go of stuff personally? You're a minimalist.
Yeah.
You're just throwing shit out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's all the time. Thanks to Aaron. Yeah, he's taught me well. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot harder because I feel like it's almost a little bit of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It comes from my thoughts and processes. So yeah, it's harder, but I feel like if it's meant to be in the book, it's meant to be in the book. And if it gets lost, it's not meant to be in the book. So I kind of, it's my, trick of trying not to get too focused on it.
But don't delete anything. You just move it aside.
I learned that this week.
Move it to the side.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
repurpose it later or something like that. But don't delete it. It's still got value.
Yeah. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. David, we ask this question for everyone that comes on Extraordinary Stories. If there was a piece of advice that our listeners could take today to live more extraordinarily like David Hancock, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say you just have to take action on your ideas, because a lot of us have really great ideas. Next, somebody else is doing it. So I think you just have to be intentional about taking action. Baby steps, even if that helps. But write down that outline, write down that idea, engage with that person that you really were hoping to have a conversation with. You just got to step out and do it, because if you do nothing happens. Or ask the right questions, or ask for the right opportunities, because if you don't ask, you don't get. So I think you just got to be bold, and you just got to step out. That's the biggest thing. It took me a while. Like I said, I didn't quit my day job for 2 years later as I was trying to figure it out. But I think if you're intentional, you can make it happen. But only you can move that needle.
Only you can move that needle.
Yeah. And then surround yourself with people that are way smarter than you. That's always a good thing too.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, you can't be the smartest one in the room.
No, and surround yourself with writers that are better than you. Working with Christine has helped me in my writing tremendously, because I was like, I'm a great writer, and then I read her shit, and I'm like, oh, okay.
No, I love the way that you convey humor. I could never do humor, at least not funny humor.
The print. And David, I'll ask you this question. This is a hypothesis Christine and I have. Is we were rereading our old stuff, and I could tell just from reading it, not from the words, but just from reading something. I was like, I must have been in a bad mood when I wrote this. It felt like the energy was stained. Is that a thing, David?
Oh, absolutely. And that's also a learned thing. So I'll let you how I overcome that. But yeah, absolutely. So back in the day when I was learning sales, probably from Tom Hopkins, it's all about your personal mindset. It's all about the space that
Mhm.
you're in. So I learned a long time ago, and I still do this today, is every single morning I get up and I stare at myself in the mirror and I'm saying, I'm going to be absolutely incredible today. And I'm going to change lives. I'm going to create opportunities for the family and relationships going to be lasting. And I smile at myself. And so every time I answer the phone, I don't go, hello. I go, this is David. I can help you. And I kind of bring that energy. And then if somebody asks me, you asked me when we first got on, I say, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm absolutely incredible. Some
You
days by
did.
faith, right? But every day it's on purpose. So if you drag yourself into this space, because it does come out in your phone conversations, even if you can't see them, it
You
matters.
can feel it.
And the
Hmm.
interactions that you have with people and in your writing. And even if it's boring email, you've got to bring that energy in. And it's another one of those, you have to know about it, you have to think about it, and you have to step into that change. My dad used to call me, because I've been doing this for decades. He used to call me out of the blue just to prove to his friends that I would still be, on a high and answer the phone the exact same way every single time, no matter what, kind of thing. He helped me because every time he called, I have to make sure I did that. But it's with intention. Obviously, I think we've talked about intention a lot, but you're right. You can feel it. The readers can feel it. The listeners can feel it. You just got to bring it to the table, and then you'll feel
Just got to bring it to the table and step into your
Step
ideas.
into it.
Act. Yeah.
it.
Awesome. You can.
I would say, even if you have to bring a shovel to get it out of the way, but you step into your.
Right.
Don't let anything get in your way. Step into them, because before you know it, somebody else is doing your really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My bride
Um,
has some of the most amazing ideas, over the years, and I never took action on them. Dagnabbit, and she reminds me in love, but her idea always came to market and made billions of dollars. So, like, I should listen to her more, but step into this.
Gotta
Right?
listen to the wife.
That's
Right?
true. That's true.
Gracious.
Oh, man. Well, you can read more about David Hancock and Morgan James at joinextraordinary.com. That's joinextraordinary.com, at joinextraordinary on all of our socials. I'm Forbes Shannon.
I'm Christine Butler.
And I'm David Hancock.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, did you hear that
that was
radio?
yep. You
That
got
was
it, David.
awesome. Thank you so much, David.
Oh, thank you for having me.